All right, we're back with another album reaction. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. And today's album we're going to be listening to is Currents by Tame Impala. So, a little bit of background about why I'm choosing this album is I was in the car with a couple of my friends. We were on our way to lunch, and on the way back from lunch, I was mentioning a couple artists that I wanted to review on the channel. Well, one of the artists was Tame Impala, and as soon as I mentioned it, my friends couldn't believe that I hadn't heard him before, and so they threw on one of his songs and just started singing it all the way back to the house. So I was like, all right, I get it. I need to start listening to him. I'm uncultured, but also I was like, man, this is actually some good shit, and I really want to see what else he has in store. So started doing a little bit of research, and I found out that the band is actually a one-man band. His name is Kevin Parker. Of course, he does have other members when he goes touring, but as far as this project is concerned, Currents, it came out in 2015, and he played all of the instruments. He did all the mixing, all of the producing, and mastering. So it is a project with 0 collaborations, and it is solely done by him, which is so impressive. But on top of that, the album went on to receive Best Rock Album of the Year and Album of the Year awards in Australia because he is an Australian artist. Not only that, but Currents by Tame Impala is listed as one of the 500 greatest albums of all time by Rolling Stone magazine. So a lot of huge milestones by this artist and by this album. So I can see its significance without even having to listen to it. I mean, I've seen the album cover and I've heard the name Tame Impala all over the place. I just have never thought to listen to it. But that is what today is for. So, without further ado, we are going to go straight into it. Currents by Tame Impala came out in 2015. It is made up of 13 songs, and it is 51 minutes long, so just about 4 minutes per song. I want to go into this with the mindset that, again, this is created by one person. So we need to go in with that mindset, and I'm sure it'll enhance the quality of the music. On top of that, it is a psych pop, synth pop, and disco album, which I'm also very excited about because those are some of my favorite genres. All right. So the first song is Let It Happen. Track number 1, Let It Happen. I like those claps or those snaps that are going on too. The bass line is really good. Good texture on his voice. Ooh, yeah. I like how that's muffling out. Yeah, the music has just kind of faded out, and now something else has taken over. This buzzing or this humming. It's kind of hazy, actually. I like how the bass cued that. The combination of the vocals and the synths is really good. There's almost like this hopelessness in his voice, which is a staple of a lot of that old new wave 80s era. Something about the way that the vocals kind of drift on a little bit longer than they need to gives that sense of hopelessness, I think. Very 80s for sure. Okay, that's what I was thinking I was hearing, was a little bit of repeating. Yeah, like some stuttering out, which is a cool effect. I was waiting for this part. The reverb on that bass. Very epic right now. I'm curious how he pulls this off live. Like, there's like a light show that goes on with this or what? Yeah, the beat has now become repurposed. It's almost like the beat has shifted. It's like it's become a brand new song. No, it goes straight back into it. It's an interesting breakdown. I guess that would have been considered the bridge. But yeah, we're back into the original beat. A robotic filter on his voice. Oh yeah, that's cool. Really cool how it's adding all of the elements that it's introduced throughout the entire song and combining it. It's very complex, but it's still able to be listened to easily. So yeah, there was a lot going on in there, and it was developing really well. I mean, I think that was like a 7.5 minute song. It didn't feel like it at all. But what I got from that was a couple of things. It definitely had a lot of nostalgic 80s new wave synth vibes. That was, of course, done by design because it is a psych pop album or synth pop album. A lot of disco elements too, so it hits all of those nails. I think why this album is so well received over the years is because it has all of those elements, but it is marketed and directed towards a new audience that didn't grow up during that time. And there's actually a reason why that works, because a lot of this style of music or this genre that this is exploring is stuff that our parents grew up with, and by that correlation, a lot of people who are now growing up during this generation, they hear something like this, and then there's this nostalgic feeling that they get because it brings them to their childhood when their parents were blasting that and they didn't really have any choice but to listen to it. So by that association and that subconsciousness that you have while discovering and listening to new music, you hear something like this and you immediately get those nostalgic feelings of listening to what your parents listened to. I was getting a lot of New Order, Depeche Mode, and what's the other one? Psychedelic Furs. I was getting a lot of those elements from this first song. Very uppity, a lot of good energy. And I like that Kevin decided to take the risk and make his first song on the album a 7.5 minute track. That's actually a really ballsy move, but it worked, obviously. So the next track is Nangs. Track number 2, Nangs. Very wavy. Man, how far back the vocals are in this mix is crazy. So just like looking at the cover, it kind of feels like that distortion in the currents with all those waves are happening. That's what this feels like. That's a good track. That's so good. I don't have a lot of thoughts on that one. I'm just going to go to the next one. The next song is track number 3, The Moment. Okay, 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 Kevin. Sounds like some change jingling. God, there's a lot of really impressive things going on across the mix, and it just amazes me that it was one person behind it all. I mean, such distinction between one part and the next in the mix, even with the bass, the way that sounded like it was someone banging at the door, and then right here, there's just a really delicate distinction between the two. It's so captivating, that beat, because those synths, right? It sounded super simple at the beginning, and then you lost it for a little bit, but when it came back, it was like you were missing it. I can't really put into words what is happening across the entire mix just because my musical vocabulary is not quite there yet. But there's a lot of really cool things happening across the mix just from part to part, and then even his vocals, what he's saying in his lyrics are also very, very, very cool in the way it's telling this story. I mean, I fell in love with the sound of my heels on the wooden floor. I don't want her footsteps to be silent anymore. I don't know why that hit me. Like, I was like, okay, man, get it. And I want them to be in the moment. There's a lot of cool things there. You know, the fact that all of this was created by one person not only is a feat in itself, but also the fact that he's able to do this. It's showing this is as direct of a line that we have to his psyche in terms of what he can bring to the table musically. I mean, this is 100% his vision with no outside forces to alter that or anything. I mean, is a pure direct line into his mind. That's basically what it is. It is a direct line into Kevin's mind. So the next song is track number 4, Yes, I'm Changing. Very round sound. Love this bass work. I want to learn bass so bad. For such a really strong and heavy message, there's so much lightness and joy that is coming out of it too. The pacing in his vocals during that part is different than what I was expecting. But I like it. Keeps me on my toes, actually. There's a lot of beauty in this song, actually. It's very melancholic. Oh, that is a cool... Sounds like traffic. I mean, you want to talk about immersive, I mean, that's literally putting you in the thick of it. What a heavy song, but it was delivered in a very delicate way. I mean, that one is clearly a little bit more focused on the actual message that is being said as opposed to the music. And I say this in a couple of songs. Whenever the song doesn't have as many complex musical elements in it and it's more focused on the voice and the lyrics, I think that's the artist telling you that the message is incredibly important, putting it very forward in the mix. I think part of the reason why this song is working on so many levels is not just because it is an emotional song, but there's some choices that he makes in his vocals that changes the actual emotion that you feel as the message is being said. I'm mainly looking at that phrase where he says, "There's no future left for you and me. I was hoping and I was searching endlessly. But baby, now there's nothing left that I can do, so don't be blue. There is another future waiting there for you." So when he said that, there was a progression that was going with his melody, and it was actually changing the emotion that you were feeling as it was being said. It was a very delicate choice, and it changed the entire vibe of the song. I think if it had gone another way, it would have been taken a lot more depressing, a lot more emotional, but the way it was going, it felt more uplifting, it felt more hopeful. So that was really cool. But yeah, like I was saying about the message that is being said, it was a lot more hopeful than what you hear in songs that other people have said. It's basically saying that for some people, and this is going to be the case across everyone's lives, is some people are just not meant for each other, and that's totally fine. And he's looking out for himself, but he's also looking out for her too. He's saying, hey, I know it didn't work, and we did everything that we could, but there's a future for me, and there's a future for you. And so you got to go look for yours. I'm going to go look for mine, and we're going to wind up being happier in the end. And that is one of the most unique but purest ways of love is don't force things, let things flow naturally, and you'll be much happier when that moment comes. So, very cool track. I liked that one a lot. The next song is the one that my friends were blasting in the car, and that is Eventually. Track number 5, Eventually. Is that horns? Very smart choice to bring in that right there. The way that fell out was really cool. Same thing as what I was saying before. A very good concept album as it's going from one track to the next because there's some ties in between all of them. It's kind of giving you a little break right here. He's not wasting any time adding his little musical nuances during this break. Wish I could tell you back into a stranger. 'Cause if I was there in your life, you wouldn't have to change it. That's such a heavy line. Yeah, it's a lot of acceptance and release. I think that's a lesson that a lot of people need to learn, is just to allow life to take over and to just release your control. I think we all struggle with that. So it's a very mature group of songs that he has right here. Yeah, even the way that those last eventuallys got mixed in, they fade out so well. You can just hear them. Yeah, the way that the beats were dropping and then coming back in, those were really well done. So now that we've heard a couple more songs, the next layer as far as why I think this album has been received so well by so many people is the messages that are coming across. They're so unique but still personable in so many ways that people go through day in and day out. I mean, going from the previous track into this one, the message is almost identical as far as, but I know that I'll be happier, and I know you will too. And just that acceptance that sometimes the people that come into your life are not meant for you. They're only here for a short while, and then they're just a stepping stone for the next phase in your life. You never know. That's just how everyone's lives go in different directions. So it's a unique album, very unique songs that I don't think get touched on a lot, those topics. So very cool stuff from Kevin. I think as far as instrumentation goes and his placement of the rhythms, it's very well done. One thing that I kind of am picking up on as far as, the drums, very cool things happening with the drums. I think some of the beats are a little delayed, a little laid back, kind of getting like some Ringo washy vibes from it. And I actually really like that because it has a lot of character to it. I don't think that is the most technical, but it doesn't need to be. Sometimes drummers, they do a little too much, or just musicians in general, they do a little too much that doesn't serve the music. In this case, he's already doing so much across the mix by himself, and the music doesn't require the drums to be very heavy. I think he's doing just what he needs to serve the music, and I'm really enjoying it as the listener. So, with that being said, we now have track number 6, which is Gossip. Track number 6, Gossip. The left ear is doing something completely different from the right ear. That's interesting. I like that. That's what this song is. Okay, so I know I had to have heard this song with 1 billion hits. Okay, so this song has 1 billion listens on Spotify. I may have only ever heard the bass line during my entire time of recognizing that. So I think as far as music is concerned, I just had a huge revelation in that this song has been listened to by so many people, and I have just now fully experienced it for the first time in the context of the album, and it has a brand new meaning to me And I think that this project has become an immediate success for me for what I was pursuing to begin with. Because me wanting to listen to different albums isn't just to expose myself to new music and new artists, but also to experience music in a different way. That being, there are certain artists where I only know a single, I only know one of their hits. And so to put that song back into the context of the album where it originated from, you hear it on the radio all the time, and sometimes it loses its luster. It doesn't really become as significant as it used to be because of multiple listens or whatever. But in this case, for a song that has become so popular, and for me to recognize that but hear it in this context is so mind-blowing to me. I mean, just as the song, if I had just heard that song, and I really wouldn't have connected with the words, I would have just really connected to the rhythm and the melodies, all that sort of stuff. But with the rest of the story that is being told, now that song just fits in place perfectly. So I think, as far as any of you all out there who know a couple of songs from a particular band and you think that, oh man, these are really good, I would recommend listening to the rest of the album and see how it may change your thoughts on particular songs and particular artists as well. So that was a really cool experience, actually. The next song is track number 8, Past Life. Getting Stranger Things vibes.
Picking up a suit from the dry cleaners, which is standard for me. Thursday, 12:30.
Kevin.
I've got a pretty solid routine these days.
This feels like Frank Ocean storytelling. I don't know why. Very nostalgic. It was like that spoken word sort of telling.
Stopped me in my track. Love her. I love her. From a past life. Feel like I saw a ghost. I shut it down, closed it off. The sounds and smells I made myself forget. A cheap solution to black out regret. But it was real, so I go about my day as normal. But
Such interesting storytelling in this song.
It consumes me. I thought I was moving on, but I guess I was just switching off. And now I see
Shit.
the banal slog it instantly became. And I don't know if I can go on the same.
Ooh, so she said hello. So I guess he called or something. Oh man. Development. Okay. So yeah, that was a very cool way of telling that story. I really like that. Just with what I assume was his voice being tuned down, and then him also explaining, like, from a past life, repeating those lines. Something that I learned from that song is, man, you really don't have to be the best at what you do to make an amazing vision as an artist. And what I mean by that is Kevin is an incredible artist. He is an incredible artist, an incredible poet, the way he's piecing these stories together. That being said, there's a couple of parts at the very end, like I was saying with Serving the Music. I was hearing this little drum fill that he was doing, and was it the cleanest? No. Was it the most technical? No. But it served the music, and he is playing what he knows. I don't know what instrument he mostly focuses on. I think in his touring performances with other artists, he's usually playing the guitar. That being said, as far as the drums is concerned, or even, let's say, like I wanted to learn how to play bass. I normally play drums, but if I were to learn the bass, try to pick it up, there's going to be some things that you can obviously tell that I did not originate on the bass. I played something else, and I'm going to play it the best to my ability that I can. And if I start writing songs or anything, I'm going to do the best that I can to serve the song that I'm trying to write or the story that I'm trying to tell. But at the end of the day, it's your vision, and as long as you're able to create your vision and it's a strong vision, then I think just go for it. He's so excellent as far as what he was able to put together, and this entire album has so far been a huge success for me, not knowing anything about him or the stories that are being told here. I love what I've been hearing. It has this very massive nostalgic feel to it because of the type of genre that it is exploring. I was getting a lot of Stranger Things elements at the beginning, and then when the beat dropped out, it did this huge experimental turn. On top of that, just the overall stories and the relatability that I have with this, and I'm sure so many other people do as well. It's very, very well thought out. I'm still amazed that only one person was able to pull all of this off. It's very inspirational on so many levels. So that being said, we now have track number 9, which is Disciples. So far, I like how simple and upbeat that it is. I don't know why, like mew 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 mew. This is like a very easy listening song. Again, the acceptance, it's at some point it's not going to hurt anymore and you're going to move on. And you're going to be so liberated and stronger because of it. So he's doing a very good job at getting that message across to his listeners. I'm very happy that he is using this type of media for those messages. I don't think a lot of people take advantage of that with their audience, and he is doing a fantastic job with that. This was a very simple track. It was very easy listening compared to everything else so far. Don't get me wrong, everything else is very musically complex, but I still enjoy it and will definitely be listening to it over and over again. That being said, it's very refreshing to get a couple of tracks here and there that are just, you can turn them on. You don't have to really listen or observe everything that's going on in there. You can just turn it on. It could just be a little bit of background music. I really enjoyed that. All right, so now we have track number 10, 'Cause I'm a Man. I like how it's starting out again. Feels like we slowed down a bit. I like that. I can't tell if that's the guitar or synths, but I love that response to it. Right there. So everything up to this point, what he's been able to explain in his songwriting up until this point, this one feels very instinctual. It goes down to the core of who he is, he's a man. And a lot of these lines, I think a lot of us men can relate to what he's saying. So it's just interesting. I didn't think I would get this sort of color from his storytelling. Not a lot more thoughts outside of that. very good storytelling again. And, he is a man, and he's explaining that you don't always think before you do. That's the only answer that he's got for you, because a lot of the times men don't like to explain things. They keep it very simple. I'll never be as strong as you, a greater force I answer to. And so, again, it all becomes that instinctual part of being a man or a male, and it's just something that we always have to work towards and strive towards. Of course, everybody has their own instinctual struggles that they deal with. He's just explaining the man's perspective or point of view on that. So, really cool way that he was explaining that, and I was not expecting to get those colors from his music, so I very much enjoyed that. Track number 11 is Reality in Motion. Oh, that's good rhyming. Okay, yeah, some good drum work right there. Fate can decide, I can ignore. Oh, shit. I think this is my favorite song now. Musically and lyrically, this is hitting on a lot of levels for me, so. His rhyming right here is really good, the way he's placing everything. This is a good outro. I really liked that. I liked that song a lot. That's probably my favorite. The way he was telling that story with the lyrical pacing was very interesting. Not something that I was expecting. And the way the drums were progressing, that was just clicking for me on a lot of different levels. That being said, track number 12, Love Paranoia. Track number 12, Love Paranoia. I may not be as honest as I ought to be. Let it hit me like an arrow. It's no, I could just be paranoid. Won't quit. I've heard those words before. Interesting pacing on the vocals. So this is probably the paranoia part. Good placement of the guitars right there and the synths. I'm literally shook that this guy did all of this by himself. That is another masterclass of what Kevin can fucking do. Oh my god. I just continue to be impressed by what he was able to piece together on this entire project. And with the way he's explaining his perspective on things, it's a very real and relatable experience that I'm sure people can usually find themselves in when it comes to love and discovering different things about themselves through that process. But at the same time, the way he's working it out in his head and finally coming to those conclusions, I mean, he's a very secure person now, because I think I think when it comes to what he's saying, where he was insecure and he was explaining some of the struggles or the problems in his life where he believes he is toxic, I think to actually address those things and to realize that those are a problem, but then also to come to a solution, I think that's showing a very mature and secure part of yourself. If you choose to do nothing with that information, then that's where the toxicity and the immature parts of your being come into play. But so long as you're working to address those things, I think you're making good progress in finding who you really are and becoming a more grounded and secure version of yourself. So, with that being said, we are now on to the final track, which is track number 13, New Person, Same Mistakes. I like what the synths are doing right now. Is that the bass? It's awesome the way that the vocals are getting in sync with the bass. These are the two sides that don't agree. Oh, now they shifted positions. Okay. I think this is going to be my favorite now. Those guitars keep catching me off guard. See, so right now, the protagonist is the one who wants to make the wrong decisions, and the voice in the back of his head is trying to be the voice of reason. In the previous chorus, then it flipped, and the voice of reason became the protagonist, so that was really cool. I feel like I'm playing Tetris. Such a catchy hook. What a great track to end the album with. So the man started and ended his album with the longest tracks of the album. I didn't feel like they were that long at all, but he ended the album with a question. So how will I know that it's right? Which is a very ballsy thing to do. I really like that decision. And in this case, there's a lot of the voice of reason and then the little devil on your shoulder that you sometimes just give into in this particular track. And I can actually see that now that I think about it across the album. There's always that balance between the two, the yin and yang, or the two wolves. Which one are you deciding to feed? And I can see in certain instances where he was feeding both of the wolves at different times. But also with something that I hadn't mentioned before is his amazing voice. I mean, I had already been thinking about that as the entire album was playing out, but it was really being showcased in that last song where it finally clicked for me. The fact that he was able to deliver a lot of these really, really heavy lines and very, very, very strong concepts, especially in this one where, he definitely, you can see a little bit of that demon time coming through, and he's still able to get those messages across so lightly because of his voice, right? He's like, but you've got your demons and she's got her regrets. He's giving in to those dark pleasures and those necessities, but it doesn't feel as piercing because his voice is so delicate as well. So I think that is something that enhances the song and goes to the strengths that he brings as an artist. Overall, this is definitely rewarding of a top album of all time. I think from what I was hearing, the fact that one person was able to pull this entire project off is a feat in itself. I mean, there's so many things in here lyrically, musically, that he was able to pull off. I don't even know how many instruments were actually utilized in this song, but as far as the different synths, the distinction between certain parts, the mixing, I mean, there's so many different musical tidbits to just study, focus, and gather inspiration from across this entire album. I absolutely love it. If I could rate it, normally I would probably put it, just off of this first listen, I'd probably say it's a solid 9. I'm going to go ahead and put like a 9.5 to this album because it just struck me on so many emotional and musical chords, but also the fact that this was, again, pulled off by one person just adds to how incredible it is. It is, I would say, like an imperfect 10, to be honest. That's how strong I'm feeling about this album right out the gates. I think there's a lot that I was able to pick up and enjoy off of that first listen. There's a lot of different musical changes that were made that I had not been exposed to before, but the way he was just able to piece it together, it just clicked instantly. Kevin Parker is a master in music for sure, and I'm excited to see what else he has in store in other albums. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this review. Please leave me any feedback that y'all have about this review, any feedback that y'all have about maybe other artists or other albums that you would like to hear in the future. I do have a couple that I am working on currently, and I am likely going to be reviewing either Radiohead or Arctic Monkeys next. If you have any preference between the two, which one you would like to hear first and which album you would like to listen to next, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks so much, guys, for hanging out. I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's day. Thanks.